This presentation explains how the Aperio lock system works and how to install it with Softcon controllers. What is Aperio? Aperio is a wireless interface to a door, the latch, the lock, the reader. So how does the door work? Well, first of all, there's a latch. That's the part that clips into the door frame. And yes, there's a handle that via a spindle opens the latch, pulls in the latch. When you turn the handle, it pulls in the latch. What Aperio has done is they have split the spindle. Now on the exit handle, it is always engaged. So when you turn that handle, it pulls in the latch and you open the door. That's on the exit side. On the entry side, they can break the spindle. So it's disengaged. If it is disengaged, you turn the handle. The handle just freewheels. It does not pull in the latch. When the spindle is engaged, so it becomes a solid bar again, when you turn the handle, the entry handle, it turns the spindle and opens the door. Let me clarify the exit and the entry and the spindle by looking at it from the top. So on the exit handle, it is directly connected onto the spindle. There's no break in it, so when you turn the exit handle, it turns the spindle and that opens the latch. So it is free exit. We have no control of exit, it's free exit. On the entry side though, the spindle is split. So when that split spindle is disengaged, when you turn the handle, it's simply freewheel. So you push down the handle, nothing happens. The latch does not open. If it is engaged, it becomes one solid bar. So when you turn the handle, you turn the spindle, it pulls in the latch. So it's controlled entry. So what it is all about is the controller controls whether that handle whether the handle is engaged or not. We've explained the latch via a split spindle. Aperio gives us more options. You can have a lock. It's an additional lock. You don't have to have this. But yes, you could have a cylinder with a key. So from outside, for example, open it with a key. And if you turn the key, it will pull in the lock. And if you turn it further, it will also pull in the latch. And you could have a key on both sides, or on the exit, you could simply have a thumb wheel. There's another option. You replace the cylinder with a knob. And again, you could have a knob on both sides or only on entry with a thumb wheel to go out. And yes, the cylinder, as they did with the latch, you can have a split cylinder. So exit knob is always engaged, or the exit thumb wheel always engaged. And on entry, the cylinder is either engaged or disengaged. If it's disengaged, the knob just freewheels, or if it is engaged, when you turn the knob, it pulls in the lock. Turn it further, it will pull in the latch. And you could have the latch on a spindle and the cylinder on a spindle, probably not. What are the products available from Aperio? Yes, it's Wi-Fi to the door. So it's wireless, no cables to the door. And in the door, there is a battery that gives you 40,000 opens or closures. The first product is the E100. Now these give you a card and or pin to open the door. It's free exit, so exit is always engaged. The handle is always engaged. And you could have, there is no lock. This does not include the lock. That's an optional extra, and we are not controlling the lock, only the handle. And there is no door monitor. And yes, optional, a cylinder to lock the door. The L100. This is a latch with handle. And the IP ratings are different on the outside and the inside. And entry is via card, as we had for the E100. Entry is via card. open and open, free exit with a door handle, but we can read the door handle, and the lock and door are monitored. So the difference between the two is that we are also monitoring the lock and the door. Then we can have a cylinder. The cylinder, as we said, that is for the lock, not the handle, the lock. And again, entry via card, only card, no pin. Free exit, so on the exit side, to exit you just turn, we have no control over that. And there is no lock or door monitor. The H100 is simply a door handle that is controlled. So entry is via card only. There is no lock and no door monitor. How do we install the Aperio locks, latches, readers? So the CR391 communicates to hubs via RS485. So it's a normal RS485 LAN up to 1000 meters between the controller and the hub. And yes, it needs data pull-ups and downs as normal RS485, and it needs 120 ohm resistor LAN terminations. Now one hub can communicate up to 8 devices, and yes, that Wi-Fi between the hub and the doors 25 meters. It depends on what is in between. And one controller can communicate with up to 8 hubs. And yes, a hub you pair to the device, to the door. So each hub gets paired to which latch, which door it's communicating with. Softcon allows up to 8 readers in any of these combinations. One hub with 4, another hub with 2, one hub to 8, whatever combination is required for your installation. And cards. If you are using cards, it uses MyFair or iClass. If you're using PIN, you can have up to 6-digit pins. In offline mode, you can have up to 10 pins, cards within the door itself. And yes, when you do reconnect, when the Wi-Fi is reconnected, you do have an audit trail. How to configure the controller. All you need to do is address where the latch or the door is connected to. So, first of all, where did you connect the RS485 to the controller? For example, on COM-D. So that is serial port 4. You need to set what is connected to COM-D, to COM4. You select type Aperio. You have to select the baud rate, the number of bits, and the parity. For the reader, you need to set where it is connected to. So COM node port, in our case, our example, it's COM4, COM-D is COM4, and then to which hub is it connected, for example, node 1 or node 2, and which latch or which reader of that node. So latch 1 would be 4.1.1, that means COM4, node 1, latch 1. Or the second one would be 4.1.2, etc. The same for the latch. The same for an input. Yes, we do monitor battery low. So you would define a battery low input and say, well, which one is it? On some of those devices that do have an action complete, you need to set that. So for the L100, it does have a door monitor, and you can monitor the other handle, so you need to set up those action completes accordingly. Same for devices that have lock monitors, you need to set the input for the lock monitor. Let's look at the hubs, the Aperio hubs, at their settings. There are switches, and you need to set the node address. node 1, 2 or whatever your node is, up to 8 via the switches on the hub. There are additional switches that can give you the pull up and pull down and the termination. As I said, somewhere we need to pull up the RS485, go and do the pull up and pull down on the most central hub, and yes, on the two ends of the RS485 you need to have the termination. You do have an option of connecting an external Wi-Fi antenna. There is an onboard antenna. If you need longer distance, you can add an antenna via an SMA connector. So there are the pinouts for us to connect our RS485, and it is a simple connection. Once the installation is complete, you need to set up your Wi-Fi, and for that you require a Wi-Fi dongle from Aperio. Yes, this is an additional cost. You don't need it per site, but each installer will need one. There is an app and it's password protected. You need to register this with Aperio. You run the app on a Wi-Fi on a PC with the dongle plugged in. You will scan and it will show you all the hubs that it can find. You select the hubs and it will show you the details of the hub, and you can right click on the device to change the settings. The defaults are okay, but yes, you can change radio channels and you can lock the hub. Once it's locked, you have to have the correct dongle to communicate with this hub. These are all once-off settings that is required. You right click on the hub and then you can say pair to a door, pair to a device at the door. To pair, you need to go and either badge a card at the door or turn the handle, and then it will pair the hub to that door. And again, you can lock that. No one else can change the setting unless you do have the correct Aperio dongle. Okay, installation is done. Just to show you some additional new products available from Aperio. Here, for example, is a thumb wheel. This is for cabinets. So again, it links Wi-Fi to this cabinet lock, and either it freewheels or you locks, similar to what we had with the latches. And there are some door handles that have key codes right in the handle that you can communicate to. These are new products that have just come out. So why would you use Aperio? Well, the most important is there are no cables. The installation is simple, and sometimes you simply cannot get cables to a door. And it's simple and quick to install. There are no extra strikes or readers. It's all within the door. It is battery powered, so low energy. So the advantage of this online lock as opposed to the cheaper offline options that are available out there. Well, first of all, when you make a change, do it on a PC. It's centrally done, it's remotely done, and it's immediately in the door. And we are logging who entered when. Only entered. Remember, exit we do not know. And you can change cards. You can change who has what card. You can change the pins. You can change time groups, when to unlock, when to not disturb. And you need not go to the door to make these changes or to blacklist or to get logs. It all is online. There are typical prices, and yes, it is not cheap, but if you take into account that it includes the lock, the reader, and the installation, that is why we'd use Aperio.